Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Okay, I think I'm good. Well, hello, everyone. It's your girl, Gabrielle. Welcome to a brand new episode of Hot Topics. So, this is the show where we talk about real things. We talk our real talk about things in education, employment, mental health, physical health, social services. We've done episodes about being a child of divorce, being a divorcee. We've talked about financial planning. We've talked about fighting negative self-talk. We've covered a lot of different topics here. We've even done a bunch of episodes about ADHD. There's one on deafness, so check out our video library. But yes, we have done plenty of episodes on this show, and today is no different. So I'm excited about today. Let me just pull that closer to me. I am excited about today because I have a brand new topic today, but it is a repeat guest, and I am excited. I know I'm excited like every episode, but I'm excited for this episode because I love it when the guests come back because it tells me that they can take the heat. So I have a returning guest today. I'm excited that he's coming back, but let me tell you what today's topic is. So today's topic is education reform. So we are going to get into the nitty-gritty, the down and dirty. We're going to get into all of that today. So I'm excited about this topic, and I'm excited about my repeat guest. So my repeat guest, his name is Shane Thrapp. No, it's Thrapp. I think it's Thrapp. It's Shane Thrapp. And I am going to remind you about who he is. So let's get right to it. Who is Shane Thrapp? Let me remind you about who he is. So Shane Thrapp is a certified life and relationship coach with a specialization in ADHD and ethical non-monogamy. He founded Creating Order from Chaos Coaching to help people dealing with life's chaos to discover their own order. For 15 years, he has used his servant-based leadership to help hundreds of people find their way through life's chaotic turmoil. He uses that experience to help clients discover their passions, develop their goals, create lasting habits, and learning accountability. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Shane to the stage. Hey there. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. And I said your name right. It's Thrapp, right? All right. I got it this time. Awesome. All right. So today we are going to talk about education reform. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about that. So I am going to pass the baton to you, and I'm going to let you take the floor.
Again, thanks for letting me come on to talk about this. I'm pretty passionate about this one. My thing is, with my son being diagnosed with ADHD, I started learning a little bit more about education, like how our students needed to learn, how our children needed to learn. And my wife is a special needs teacher, and she teaches. When I first met her, she was teaching 17 to 22-year-old kids who have different disabilities, from severe autism to cerebral palsy to paraplegics, people who really had significant needs within their disability. She currently teaches seventh graders in a middle school who are autistic, cerebral palsy, have severe ADHD and other behavioral issues. And some of the things that I've seen that, in our discussions together and in the research that I've done, it just really leans into a need for a drastic shift in how we as a society teach our students, because we are still doing things that are based off old ways. We're still running classrooms as in school years as if it's a regimented thing. Each day, the child gets up, goes to a school at a specific time, and then everything is essentially regimented from that point on. When the bell rings, they go to the thing, and it's based off the old ways of educating our youth to be ready to work in a factory. And this is, 1850s to 1920s education styles. And the subjects that we're learning are based on even older subjects. Learning specifically about mathematics and making sure that we have a firm grasp of that dates back to the 1600s, where they had to have people who were capable of doing different tallies and things of that nature, so that they could do inventory better on ships and in the ports and in cities. They needed more accountants, so they put a really strong emphasis on mathematics. And those are important. Like, we need to have those fundamental understandings. The problem is we've put too much emphasis on those and not enough emphasis on the creative aspect of learning. And that's what is so important in things like critical thinking, understanding how to solve problems in a pragmatic way, understanding how to look at things in abstract directions and come up with creative solutions that work, in ways that people may not have expected. And so we are essentially teaching our kids to think very linearly, and not in a way that causes them to stop and seriously consider what the problem is that they're dealing with. We are teaching our kids essentially by rote to memorize things, and we're not taking into considerations the different types of learning styles that there are out there: auditory, visual, kinesthetic learners, those who need to have discussions with people, those who need to, need a different style of presentation. Our teachers are having to spend too much time lecturing and giving out homework when they could be providing more effective education by no homework and working directly with the children with teachers' aides, and working on the practical aspect of the learning. And what I really wish we could understand is the importance of teachers in our society. In our society, teachers are paid 19% less than other college graduates at their level. And when you take into consideration inflation, we've seen a 4% decrease in their pay rate over the course of the last 10 years. And that's not fair. At the very least, we need to be making sure that they're being paid equal to or 5 to 10% more than the average college worker. And they should also be making sure that they're taking into consideration inflation. That's a thing that actually we should be taking into consideration across all the pay that we give people. But with teachers having such a hardcore functional role in our society, the importance for them to be paid a fair wage and to have access to resources and having access to the tools that they need and the teachers' aides that they need and the substitute teachers that they need and the benefits that they need, so that they're not having to pay out of pocket for the things that they need. And all of this is just kind of combining together to make this system that's seriously broken. And that's why I'm really looking forward to having this discussion today on education reform.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. So you just said a mouthful. So let's unpack that. So just so I understand, so your argument is that
Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
I think I've someone else said a similar argument that the way that school is structured, it's structured like a work day. Mm-hmm. So it's not really conducive to learning. It's conducive to earning something. It's meeting deadlines, turning things on time. So it's not so much the school system is not structured for learning. It's structured to
churn out factory workers. That's what it's structured to do. Think about it like this: it's they educate kids by age brackets, how old. They govern the schedules very rigidly. When the bell rings, you go to this spot. You're told to follow the instructions with really no real input into what you're learning. There's anything that's outside of simply doing what you're told is considered disruptive. And there's, we're getting to a point where there's very little free time or play time or time to really be creative. And what that does is that produces robots, that produces things that can do a specific task when told to do it, how told to do it, and as often as somebody tells them to do
it. So I am going to play devil's advocate here. So the fact that school is so structured like a factory, aren't we in turn preparing them for the workforce? Because that's what most of it is. It's turning things on time. It's clocking in, clocking out, following instructions, doing as you're told. You have a scheduled lunch break. So aren't we in turn just preparing kids for the workforce when they're adults?
My inner socialist is losing his shit right now. No, no. I mean, but yes, we do need to provide that structure, and that is important. And it's the rigidity of it that really bothers me, and it's the lack of creativity that bothers me the most. I don't really have an issue with making sure kids get to school on time. I don't have a problem with making sure that the students have delineated classroom scheduling and things of that nature. My issue is the rigidity of it, the lack of input and agency by the children to be able to have more agency over what they learn, to be completely truthful. We place too much emphasis on specific subjects and that rigidity, and that they have to learn these things in order to be productive members of society, totally ignores the fact that some kids don't want nor need to have that kind of instruction in their life. They don't need certain types of education for what they're wanting to do in the rest of their life, but they also don't need that kind of if they're not able to learn that kind of thing. There's lots of students out there that have things that make reading very difficult. And while we do want to make sure they have a fundamental understanding of reading, placing so much emphasis on learning to read at a certain level places a lot of, I don't want to say trauma, but it places a lot of emphasis or places a lot of stress on them. Whereas if we understood and went by the level that they were able to read at and focused on that rather than them having to hit ninth grade reading level, it's that level of rigidity that, each student at a certain age has to be in a certain level of classroom. It doesn't take into consideration people who are neurodivergent, people with ADHD, people who are on autism spectrum. These people learn different things at different levels. And we're not taking into consideration that need for them to not be othered by being placed behind other students simply because they can't learn a singular subject, right? And that's kind of where my main issue is we place too much rigidity in the school and we don't take into consideration the diversity of our students.
So I want to play devil's advocate again. I think the reason that there is rigidity is because it's an easier way to establish order, especially when in each classroom there's 30 students, and depending on the size of the school, there might be like thousands of kids. So when you have 2 to 3 times more kids as you do staff, it's all about order and control. So if we have to tailor to everyone's creativity, knowing that everyone is different, that's going to be time consuming. And, school's already understaffed. So I think it's all about, dealing with as many kids as we can at one time and then getting them out. So, so in terms of that, I think the rigidity is really more for functionality because there's so many kids at one time. So how do you address that? How do you address knowing that because there's so many kids at one time, it's really all about not all about, but most of it is about just maintaining order.
Well, we have to attack the root cause of the problem. And the root cause of the problem is we have too many students and not enough teachers. And so when we look at that, we have to look at how do we fix that? Well, we need to look at funding for the schools and making sure that we have adequate pay and competitive pay for our teachers. And we have to have access to teachers' aides and learn how to shrink down each classroom. Currently, our average in the United States is sitting right around 20 to 23 students per classroom. What we need to do is we need to shift that down to 15, or we need to include a teacher's aide in classes that have over 23 students. That puts, one child per, or we could do 30, but I would say that it's better to have 1 to 12 ratio when you're looking at that large of a classroom. So it's not a matter that we shouldn't be using the rigidity. We should be giving our schools the resources to fund having the ability to have smaller classes so that the teachers are then able to focus more on the students, and with teachers' aides involved, they're able to then have even more time to focus on the students. We also need to do things like getting rid of homework. Homework is essentially a waste of time for most students, and at the same time, it takes away from their ability to rest And so then the next day that they come into class, they've not only stressed over trying to make sure this homework is done, they're also not as well rested as they could have because they didn't get time to a chance to go play. They didn't get a chance to kind of unwind from the day. And they're now having to deal with homework on top of the chores that they could have been helping their parents with. And we're taking away from the parental time. And so now the parents are all stressed out. And it's just an overarching system that is broken and that we need to make serious changes to. And it requires us funding our schools more. It requires our funding our education system more. It requires us looking at the overall thing and making serious adjustments to what's going on.
So it's in regards to the homework part. So are you saying we should just eliminate homework entirely?
Eliminate homework, but maybe not eliminate all homework, but eliminate homework to the point of giving them a foundation for what they're going to learn the next day. And what I mean by that is instead of the teachers having to lecture, for 30 minutes at the beginning of class, if the students have access to the teacher's lecture part through written, where they can read it, visual, where they can watch it, auditory, so they can listen to it, and then the next day they can address everything and then have the actual discussion of the subject matter instead of the teachers having to lecture throughout the entire thing. Now, this puts a little bit of onus on the teachers to create that content or work with things like Khan Academy or other virtual learning courses so that they have access to the homework, home lectures. I'll use that term. But at the same time, this gives the teachers the ability to work with those who have a harder time understanding it, recognizing that there's some students who are having a harder time understanding it. And then, it also gives them the ability to see students who are really excelling at a certain subject, and then using those students to help tutor other students who are having a hard time, thus freeing up the teachers to be able to work with other students. Teaching is a part of educating ourselves. So if we're giving these students who are showing their ability to understand a subject, the ability to then teach somebody else the subject, that helps them retain the information even more. And then once that person understands the subject, they can then turn around and help somebody else who is also having a hard time with it. And so you have this sense of cooperation in the classroom and not competition.
Okay. So in regards to, well, then that's another thing, is that if we decrease the number of students in a room, then we would have to increase more schools in order to adjust for the numbers. So do you think that is feasible?
I think it's feasible, but this is also idealistic. I wish it wasn't, but the reality of the situation is that a lot of schools would have a hard time. A lot of school systems would have a hard time doing this in our current model. It is feasible, but again, it's going to require the federal and state governments to place more emphasis on learning and not on simply churning kids out of a school. When we look at the No Child Left Behind by George W. Bush and the expansion of that by Obama, what they did is they created a system where teachers are having to teach a very specific subject so that when the students are taught, they're able to then take a test and by rote. And they're not really learning anything so much anymore. They're just simply memorizing things. And for some people, that's very difficult, especially when you think about with ADHD and the ability, their memory doesn't work the same as other people's. It takes us more time to retain things. And so No Child Left Behind means that we're pushing kids forward who need to be in a subject for a little bit longer to gain a better understanding of it. We shouldn't be rushing kids from 8th grade to 9th grade. We should be pushing kids who are able to do, the subjects as they are able to understand them at the speed that they're able to understand them. And that way we're not putting these kids who are supposed to be in 9th grade, back an entire grade, when what they really need to be is just have one class or a couple of classes that they had a hard time in. They need to be in those classes, and then the rest of their classes need to be based on their aptitude and understanding of those classes. And then as a school system, we need to have bigger schools. We need to have more access to schools. We need to be looking at hybrid models where the students are able to work from home, be taught from home, as well as have access to the school. We need to be expanding our ability to use the technology that we have. We've already seen that, we can do it. We didn't do it great during the pandemic with the online learning and things of that nature. But if we put more money into our education system, gave our teachers smaller classes, gave them access to teachers' assistants, gave them access to in-school tutoring, and then provided tutoring to people who are in need, because that's another problem that we have, is people who live at a poverty level, people who live in the inner cities, people who live in the areas where internet isn't that great. These people are suffering because they don't have the same access as other school systems do. And so we need to across the board level the playing field for everybody, for all students across all age ranges and all socioeconomic systems.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
So do you think, in terms of access to resources and the education reform that you're looking for, do you think it's different across ethnicities, socioeconomic status? Because some schools in certain neighborhoods are better financially than schools in other neighborhoods. So, do you think do you think there's a difference in schools and the school system in terms of socioeconomic status, ethnicity, a variety of demographics?
Yeah. And, honestly, that's really unfortunate, because while George W. Bush had what I look as pure intentions for what they wanted to do with No Child Left Behind, and as much as I appreciated Obama and the work that he worked to do in his education practices, what they've done is they've created a system that's even worse than what it was before. Because now we have kids who are learning these rote subjects, taking these courses, taking these standardized testing, and these students who have access to the materials and the resources are excelling, and thus their schools and their school systems and their states are getting more money for those schools. Whereas the students who don't have access to all those resources, don't have access to tutors, don't have access to smaller classrooms and better technology, are suffering, and they're actually being penalized for not being able to meet the same standardized testing as others. We also have systems that are starting to be put in place where teachers are about to start getting paid based on how their students do on those standardized testing. And when you have a situation where you have students who don't have the same access as those who do, who don't have the same access to technology, don't have the same access to resources, don't have the same access to the different, levels of education as people who live in rich neighborhoods, then what that's going to do is that's going to cause teachers to leave inner cities and to leave the rural areas for the areas where the wealthy live. And so we're going to have even worse socioeconomic delineations between the classes.
So there's a lot of different things we need to change, right? So let's rank it. So the top 5 things that we need to change in our schools, what would you say?
First and foremost is teachers' pay. It needs to be 5 to 10% higher than the average payout of college educated people at that level. They also need to have higher paying teachers' aides and higher pay for oh man, my brain just died, for substitute teachers. That's the first and foremost. The second one is classroom size. It needs to be significantly reduced, which means we need more education funding. So we need to have an overhaul of the entire education system, how they how school systems can access the money, how much money that they can access, and it needs to be leveled across all of the different education systems, not simply those who can pass a standardized testing. So we need true equality in funding for all schools. 3, let me see. We need to bring creative arts back to schools. We need to have the students need to have more access to all of the different artistic endeavors, music, drawing. They need to have access to creative writing. They need to have access to different types of mediums of art. They need to have it at all levels. And they need to have access to those who excel in those fields. So musicians and people who are going to music class should have access to opera singers and different types of symphony orchestras, and actors and actresses for theater. They need to have access to painters and writers and people who excel in those fields, so that their minds are able to expand away from a mindset of working for simply corporate America, but also understanding that there's other things out there that they can do. Because what we're doing is we're leaving behind an entire section of our students and forcing them into roles, into jobs that they're not designed for, and telling them that what they dream about doing isn't worth it. We also need to expand, and this is 4, we also need to expand our understanding of the importance of vocational education, practical work, plumbing, electricians, and I'm going to throw information technology into that aspect of it. We need to have access to people who are able to learn how to weld, how to work on cars, how to do these very practical jobs that they have this super, super strong aptitude for, but they're told that, they have to go to college. They have to go, to work in corporate America because that's where all the money is. It completely ignores that the average person who goes through vocational school makes almost twice as much money as the same age person who went through college. You've got to, you go through college, you get a bachelor's degree, you're working for $15 an hour as a corporate person, whereas the person who went through 2 years of welding is now making $35, $45, $75 in the case of people who work underwater. We have to put more emphasis on understanding the totality of what a person can do as a profession without the stigma of being a welder or not going to college or not being able to be a corporate person, and instead create beautiful works of art. Our society is missing art. The fifth one is we need to start really teaching our students practical things, how to run a household, how to pay bills, how to be able to understand their credit, how to understand financial literacy, how to understand these practical aspects of living, and, and really have a strong foundation of how to live successfully as an adult, not how to live successfully as a college student. And part of that needs to include sexual education. It needs to understand the different aspects of gender identity. It needs to understand the different ideas of sexual orientation, so that there's not this confusion, which is already confusing for kids who are going through puberty, about what their bodies are going through. And we need to have an understanding of that and how to incorporate that at age appropriate levels.
Okay. So now, in terms of all those things that you listed, that's only for grades K through 12, right? So would you suggest anything for colleges and universities?
They need to be free. They need to follow the same system as well. We need to be making sure that our colleges aren't simply teaching subjects that aren't really important for the different types of degrees that a person is going for. I'll use I use information technology as an example. Why does a person who's in information technology need to understand English 1 through 4? It's they need to have a basic understanding. They need to have access to those classes if they find that there's a need for that specifically in their field. But if they don't need the class, they need to be able to still move through their coursework that's required for the work, the degree that they're going to go through, right? They need like the fundamentals, how to understand how to work on different types of papers and things of that nature. But if you're going through for information technology, why do you need to have an English literature background? Why do you need to have these other classes? So a lot of these classes that we're requiring people to take to get an associate's degree, to get a bachelor's degree, we need to move those into electives and have them be specific to the degree that a person is trying to go for. On top of our education system needs to be free through graduate degrees.
So now with that argument about, you should only take classes that are specific to your degree, or take classes that are specific to what the child wants in terms of the younger grades, to play devil's advocate again, how does a child know what they want to do unless you throw everything at them? So you throw everything at them, you let them figure out what their strengths and weaknesses are, and then build off of that. So
well, there's definitely going to have to be a structure put in place early on, kindergarten through 5th, 6th grade.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Once we get to that point, we'll actually start seeing where the students are starting to kind of lean towards. But we also should be at the same time teaching the kids how to critically think. Again, how to problem solve, how to understand themselves, understand their dreams, and encourage those dreams. Think about when you were in 6th grade. You had a lot of different thoughts of what you wanted to be when you got older. Now, when you got older, what stopped you from following those dreams? Was it because you had to follow a certain path that your school kind of forced you into? Or did you just have your dreams crushed? Did you follow through with what you wanted to do when you were in 6th grade because you had access to the resources and the learning and the education that you wanted to do? Or were you told that what you wanted to do wouldn't make you enough money? Or it wasn't worth your time, or it wasn't worth society's time? And we have all these dreams when we start hitting middle school about what we want to be when we get older. And so many of the times that we have these amazing dreams, most of the reason that we don't follow through with them is because nobody around us supports them.
So then that's outside of education reform. That's more of social reform, because you have to look at their families, you have to look at their finances, the socioeconomic. So then wouldn't that be outside of the school?
No, because we should be not just educating the students, but also the parents. We should be giving the parents the resources so that they're able to understand what their children are learning and understand how they can be involved. And then give them access to things like tutors who are paid by the government to help students who need that support, whose mother and father are having to work 2 or 3 jobs, or, and then this is going to go into a whole lot of social stuff right there. We shouldn't be having to work 2 to 3 jobs at all, at any level of our understanding. But at the same time, we should be providing parents who are at a certain need level those resources, the same resources that people have at the levels of, higher tier schools. And that's what I meant earlier when I said that we need to be providing access to funds across the board for all schools equally, not just those schools who are able to pass standardized testing at a certain level consistently because they have access to the resources. We're doing nothing but creating more of a socioeconomic decline in those who don't have access to the same resources. We're leaving people behind. George W. Bush's goal was no child left behind, but we have millions and millions of children who are being left behind because of socioeconomic issues.
So you're saying the school should be more involved in terms of not just the education of the child, but the education of the parent as well.
Right, because we can't have just the teachers being supportive of the students. The students are going to desperately need the support of their parents as much as anything else. Not just because we need supportive parents, but because we're around them more. We're so integrated into our children's lives that if we aren't able to be part of that system and involved in that, then they don't get that gratification and reward that they need. It's very, when parents don't understand how important praise is, if they don't understand how their child learns, like what kind of, learning style does your child have? If you don't know that and you could just keep forcing your child to try to learn a certain way when they need a different type of learning style, then you're causing a lot of stress to them and unnecessary stress. If you have the resources and the knowledge, you can sit here and say, okay, you're a kinesthetic learner. That means you need to have somebody who can discuss with you the work afterwards and kind of process that and then be able to plan for that. And so, okay, let's talk about your science work. What did you learn today? And then by giving the child the ability to teach what they learned, we again go back to what I was saying earlier. You learn by teaching as much as by learning. You know what I mean? And so we need to provide our parents the understanding of their own child that professionals are able to determine.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
And, Mr. Thrapp, we believe that your child has ADHD, and these are the struggles that they're going to deal with. These are the ways that you can help them. These are the things that you can do to provide a support structure for them. And here's the behaviors that we're seeing, and these are the ways that we can help them, that you can help them by starting to understand what they're going through. And so now the parent has more understanding of their child from an objective outside viewpoint. And then as they kind of learn more about ADHD or learn more about the behaviors, they're able to respond more appropriate, which is then reducing the amount of stress and pain that the child is having to deal with. On the inverse of that is we'll be able to identify parents who are neglecting and abusing their kids more.
Interesting theory. All right, so why do you think there's such low funding for schools and teachers are getting paid less? Why do you think there's less money going into schools?
I don't really want to get into the political side of things, but there are certain political factions that do not place emphasis on education because the more ignorant that their constituents are, the easier they are to manipulate and the easier they are to keep voting for them.
All right, and I think on that note, we'll stop right there. All right. So, okay. It's walking away. All right. So, on that note, so do you have any final words of wisdom that you would like to share?
Yeah, a lot of what I talked about is idealistic, and I understand that. I learned a lot of what I think about education system through Sir Ken Robinson and his TED Talks. And then there's a lot of different writers and a lot of different people out there who have been vouching for bringing back creative education pursuits and things of that nature. And we need to be putting more critical thinking and more creative outlets into our school systems, no matter what. We need to have a system in place where teachers have access to the funding, they have access to the pay that they need, that they have access to the resources that they need. And then we need to be including parents into all of this as much as possible. Not just the parents who are rich enough to be able to be a part of it. We need to be giving parents who aren't as well off as those people the resources to be able to be a part of it. And, that speaks to a lot of social change. That speaks to a lot of different industries changing. And that speaks to a lot of different resources being given out. But for a country that spends $750 billion a year on military, maybe we could probably spend a little bit more on education.
All right. And there we go. All right. Shane, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you for your words. So let me put up your contact information. All right, you guys. So you can follow Shane on all over his social media. All right. He is on, where is he? He's on Facebook, Instagram. He's on Twitter, LinkedIn. So he is all over the place. And what else? You could also reach out to him via email. All of that information is scrolling below at the bottom of your screen. So definitely follow him. Reach out to him if you have any questions. Shane, do you want to remind people about what you do for a living or tell us about your business?
Yeah, I'm an ADHD life coach, a relationship coach, and I help people understand how to live with ADHD and how to build relationships that are based in communication, honesty, trust, and respect.
All right, there we go. So if you're looking for those kinds of services, definitely reach out to Shane. His information is at the bottom of the screen. So I encourage you to write all this down, reach out to him, follow him on social media. And he's on TikTok. Yeah, so definitely reach out to him and follow him and seek those services. And for those of you watching this episode on our YouTube channel, all of this information will be in the description. All right, Shane, thank you so much again for joining me today.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to place you backstage, and it's just you and me. Sorry if the camera kind of moves. Okay, so let me put up my banner here. All right. Okay. The camera's moving. Okay, so we have reached the conclusion of our episode. Thank you so much for joining us today. Wherever you are watching this episode right now, whatever platform you are watching this episode, if it's Twitter, if it's Instagram, if it's Facebook, if it's on our website, if it's, did I say Instagram? I think I said Instagram. If it's YouTube, wherever you are watching this episode right now, please check out for our other episodes. Oh, excuse me. For more videos and clips, and don't forget to follow us. So check out our video library, watch our previous episodes, stay in touch with our web series, Hot Topics. And while you're at it, let us know what you thought about this episode by leaving a comment in the comment section below or in the comment thread. And as a reminder, this web series is a production of A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. So if you would like to learn more about our company, what we're all about, if you're looking for tutoring services, right? Education reform. Whoa. Yes, if you're looking for those tutoring services, please reach out to us. Our information is at the bottom of your screen in the scrolling marquee. But I will say our website here. It is www.astepaheadtutoringservices.com. And I want to let you know that when you reach, I'm not even going to say if, I'm going to say when you reach out to us and you say that you heard about us from our Hot Topics web series, guess what? We're going to give you 15% off 6 hours of tutoring. That's right. 15% off 6 hours of tutoring if you say that you learned about our services from Hot Topics. So get that coupon. You have no excuse. And one last thing, please sign up for our email list and our texting list. You will receive even more promotions, special offers, special announcements. Stay in touch with us. So I definitely encourage you to sign up for our email list and our texting list. That information, again, is at the bottom of your screen. Okay, and now I'm going to share this final message before we close for the episode.
Hey there, have you heard of us? We're a small team of tutors here at A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. We believe that education and information should be accessible to everyone, regardless of income, race, or creed. We're dedicated to making this happen, but we need your help. Please consider making a donation to our company. No amount is too small. Your donation will allow us tutors to remain employed, offer free and low-cost services, put on productions like this web series, and reach out to families nationwide. With your help, we can tackle the academic challenges of our students and the emotional, mental, and behavioral changes that result from these challenges. As a bonus, we can improve our communities in the process. Support us today. Note: we're a for-profit company. We're not a charity. Your donation may not be tax deductible. Please consult a tax professional.
and that is, I'm just going to pull this closer to me. So that is it for our show. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you at the next episode. Thank you again for watching. And now, I, Gabrielle, I'm signing off. Bye.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.